Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
When it comes to vaccination efforts across the southern tier, the numbers vary county to county. COVID-19 specialist Amanda Decker shows us where some local counties stand on distribution efforts and where you can get your shot if you still need one.
On Tuesday, New York will open up vaccine eligibility to anyone 16 and older. That's extremely welcomed news across the southern tier where vaccine distribution rates vary widely. In Tompkins County, more than 43% of residents have received at least one shot, giving that county the second highest vaccination rate. Now, on the opposite end of the scale, Tioga County has vaccinated about 25% of residents. That's the third smallest percentage per population. But right now, in the middle of those two areas, Steuben County with a 27% first dose rate and Chemung County with a little more than 30% of residents have received at least one shot. Now, the southern tier is doing better than any other region of the state when it comes to new case numbers, and the vaccine rollout is helping to curb the spread locally. But statewide, we are still a very long way from where we need to be. About 20% of New York is fully vaccinated, but more shots still need to get into arms. Here's why. As a nation, we are trying to reach herd immunity. That's the point where even those who cannot get vaccinated are still protected against COVID-19. In order to reach that area, at least 70% of the population, both across the U.S. and in each state, must be vaccinated. Right now, New Mexico is leading the nation. 26% of residents in that state are fully vaccinated. But over the next several days, local residents will have more chances to get their shots. There are several clinics planned this week. In Chemung County, Tuesday and Wednesday, a Moderna clinic will take place at the mass vaccination site on Aviation Drive in Big Flats. Both clinics get underway at 1:30, and you can make an appointment through the health department website. Now on Wednesday, Arnett Health will have a Pfizer clinic for anyone 16 and older at Ira Davenport Memorial in Bath. You do have to register through Arnett online. And another Moderna clinic is set for Wednesday at Corning Painted Post High School for anyone 18 and older. Now, as far as herd immunity, once we reach that 70% or higher vaccination rate, that's when we can slowly start removing the masks and worrying a lot less about social distancing. But that's also why we need to get a lot more shots in arms quicker so we get there faster. Reporting for Big Fox News, I'm COVID-19 specialist Amanda Decker.
A Category 5 hurricane. That's how one infectious disease expert describes the current state of the COVID pandemic. But other experts disagree, saying we're nearing the end of the tunnel. Polo Sandoval reports.
We will see in the next 2 weeks the highest number of cases reported globally since the beginning of the pandemic.
The United States passing a huge milestone this weekend, averaging more than 3 million coronavirus shots in arms per day. But even as the country's vaccination efforts persist, some health experts worry the increase of COVID-19 variants puts the country on the cusp of a surge in cases.
There isn't a country in the world right now that is seeing a big increase in this B117 that is not locking down. We're the exception. Now, I understand the absolute resistance in this country to even to consider that. And, it's kind of like trying to drink barbed wire. But the bottom line message is the virus is going to do what it's going to do, and we're going to have to respond somehow.
19 states have seen an increase in cases over the last week, including parts of the Northeast and Midwest. Cases are up 19% from 2 weeks ago, with young people making up a growing number of new cases. But health experts say that more vaccinations can keep a surge in check.
I don't think it's going to be a true fourth wave, but I think the Biden administration can allocate it to parts of the country that look hot right now. But if we could just get 2 or 3 more weeks of around 3 million vaccines a day, that's going to be a pretty big backstop against a true fourth surge.
Here in Michigan, cases have risen substantially over the past few weeks. On Saturday alone, the state reported more than 9,000 new infections. At an Easter church service in Detroit, Pastor Kenneth Flowers encouraging his congregation to get vaccinated.
You must have your faith, but you must also use the doctors. So get the vaccination. I've been letting people know that follow the science.
Shada Norfolk highlighting the importance of the pastor's message, particular to a black community that she described as having a history of apprehensions to vaccines.
I am concerned about that, but we have to keep hammering that vaccinations is our pathway out. I am very concerned for the children and the youth and the young adults because sometimes they think they're invincible. We want to continue to stress that the only way we're going to get out of this is the vaccine because we don't have a cure yet.
And in his Easter message to the nation, President Biden encouraging Americans to get vaccinated.
Getting vaccinated is a moral obligation, one that can save your life and the lives of others.
In the first week of testimony in the Derek Chauvin murder trial, a series of witnesses took the stand, detailing compelling testimony of what they saw the day that George Floyd died while being restrained by the former Minneapolis police officer. Well, this morning, the prosecution shifting focus from what happened that May afternoon to legal reasons why they believe Chauvin's actions amounted to murder. Daryl Forges is in Minneapolis with a look at the impact of those testimonies and what to expect in the week ahead.
Day 6 of witness testimony in the Derek Chauvin murder trial getting underway.
The state calls Dr. Bradford Langenfeld.
As prosecutors call the emergency room doctor who tried to save George Floyd's life to the stand.
Are you the physician who officially pronounced him dead that night?
That is correct, yes.
This following an emotional first week as witness after witness detailed what happened as Derek Chauvin knelt on George Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes.
He said, "Mama, you're killing me."
One member of law enforcement providing insight into Minneapolis police procedure in support of the prosecution's case against the former officer.
Putting your knee on the neck for that amount of time is just uncalled for.
The defense maintaining Chauvin was following his training.
Derek Chauvin did exactly what he had been trained to do over the course of his 19-year career.
And arguing Floyd's death was due to pre-existing health conditions and drug use. An attorney for George Floyd's family says those arguments don't hold up.
He can't have it both ways. If he's saying that they suspected George Floyd of being on opioids or whatever it may be, which is a health crisis, they should have treated him with greater care.
And says the evidence shows Chauvin knew what he was doing.
He clearly knew he had taken it too far, but, didn't think he'd get caught, but he did.
In Minneapolis, I'm Daryl Forges.
A New York State senator is pushing to bring the MLB's All-Star Game to New York City. In a letter to the MLB commissioner, New York State Senator Michael Gianaris said Citi Field, the New York Mets home stadium, was the obvious pick for the game, particularly due to the pandemic's toll on the surrounding neighborhoods. Gianaris' decision coming shortly after the MLB decided to pull this summer's All-Star Game out of Atlanta in protest of Georgia's new voting law.
I did talk with the Mets before I fired off the letter. I didn't want to offer up their stadium for them unless they were okay with it. What better way to honor the people that were on the front lines doing the work over the last year than maybe inviting them to the All-Star Game?
Even Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is supporting the idea, tweeting, quote, "We would welcome at MLB to come to play the All-Star Game in New York, where we're working to make it easier, not harder, to vote." Some shocking new numbers now show the extent of the crisis along the southern border. And as Doug Lazater reports from Washington, the Biden administration is trying to address the source of the problem.
Officials from the Biden administration will travel to Guatemala and El Salvador this week in an attempt to deal with this problem at its source. But that may not do much in the near term. They just keep coming. And new numbers from Customs and Border Patrol are expected to show that 171,000 immigrants were caught entering the country just last month, levels we haven't seen in decades. Members of Congress have been raising the alarm by visiting some of the detention facilities near the border. And one senator says he was told to delete images from his phone.
They are crammed in like sardines, and this is what the Biden administration is trying to hide from the American public, which is why we took video and the Biden administration tried to stop us.
And despite the images and the shocking numbers, the Biden administration has consistently maintained that the border is closed and secure. Vice President Kamala Harris has been charged with dealing with Central American countries in an attempt to stem the flow of immigrants. Administration officials still won't call the situation a crisis, but they continue to struggle to find facilities to house thousands of unaccompanied children.
These numbers are certainly, we are not naive about the challenge, but what our focus is on is solutions and actions to help address the unaccompanied minors who are coming across the border.
And according to the Washington Post, last month's numbers include some 19,000 unaccompanied children. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Still ahead tonight, hope is on the horizon for struggling restaurants in the U.S. continuing to wait for pandemic relief.
Every single month, at the end of the month, it's like, hey, we made it another month.
I mean, it's pretty extraordinary to have made it this far. I feel so unbelievably lucky to be standing on this side of it.
More on the $28.6 billion restaurant fund to save these businesses and when owners can possibly expect that payout.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. We have a lot going on this week as we have a couple of systems that will bring some rain chances. But for tomorrow, I'm expecting mainly sunny conditions, and it is going to be a little bit warmer than today. We do have rain chances not only for Tuesday evening, but also late in the week. And temperatures will stay above normal despite our rain chances. So as we head into tonight, we are expecting just a few passing clouds, but overall it is going to be mainly clear. Temperatures, though, will be quite cold. Around 38 degrees by 11, and then we drop down to around 31 by 5 o'clock in the morning, and then right at the freezing mark at 6 o'clock. So it's going to be a cold start to the day tomorrow, but as high pressure starts to build in, we are expecting a little bit warmer conditions as we head into the afternoon. However, clouds will start to increase late in the day as a little piece of energy moves in, and so there is the possibility of a few showers late in the afternoon into the evening hours. So here's a look at your hour-to-hour planner. At around 10 o'clock, readings will be around 54, and then we warm up into the 60s by your lunch hour, 66 at 4 o'clock, and there could be a few isolated showers by the latter part of the day. Clouds will increase in the evening hours as well, and so even though we'll start off with sunny conditions, it will be cloudy by the end of the day. And then moving to the latter part of this week, we do have another system that will come through. The high pressure system that will keep the warm air going will start to shift to the east, allowing for south winds to return, and so we are expecting a warm up but increasing rain chances for the end of the week. So here's a look at your future radar. For tonight, we are expecting quiet weather, and I'm expecting mainly clear conditions, but then clouds will start to increase during the day tomorrow. There could be a few showers at around 5 o'clock near Hornell, as you can see right there just to the south, but overall, most of us will stay dry, and then we have another batch of rain that will be coming in on Wednesday morning. So notice a few more showers moving toward Hornell and also in Bath, and that will start to move to the south as well. And so places like Corning and Elmira will get in on the action during the day on Wednesday. And it looks like this activity continues through the afternoon and into the evening hours. By 1 o'clock, it starts to taper off, but we have another system that will come through, bringing more rain chances for your Friday. It is going to be mostly clear conditions tonight, though. Temperatures dropping down to around 31 in Elmira, 32 degrees in Corning. Highs tomorrow in the mid to upper 60s, and then as we head into the latter part of the week, we're going to warm up to around 71 degrees on Thursday. Rain chances, better rain chances on Friday, and that will cool us down into the mid 60s.
The pandemic has hit the restaurant industry very hard. More than 100,000 restaurants in the U.S. have closed, and those that survived say they're very desperate for the money in Biden's stimulus package. Vanessa Yurkovich has more.
Every single month, at the end of the month, it's like, hey, we made it another month.
I mean, it's pretty extraordinary to have made it this far. I feel so unbelievably lucky to be standing on this side of it.
3 restaurant owners in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles have made it through the pandemic so far, something 110,000 other restaurants can't say. But to keep their doors open, they will need access to the new Restaurant Revitalization Fund, part of the $1.9 trillion stimulus bill.
How critical do you feel like this grant is for you?
I won't survive without this grant.
Amanda Cohen has owned Dirt Candy in New York's Lower East Side for 13 years. 2 PPP loans later, she's just hanging on.
What's business like these days?
Business is really up and down. You know, we'll do 6 covers a night, maybe 8 covers.
So what does 6 to 8 covers a day get you?
Nowhere.
Which is why the $28.6 billion restaurant fund run by the Small Business Administration is paramount. Unlike a PPP loan, this grant covers more expenses and doesn't have to be paid back. The SBA says it could go live this month, but offers no exact date.
It's extremely important for us comes in a timely fashion.
Joe Frillman says the grant money would fund his Chicago restaurant till October. Without it, he makes it to May. Some states have lifted indoor dining restrictions, but several major cities like Chicago still have them in place.
The physical limitations of this space and this restaurant, we're actually operating still only at about 25% capacity from what we can do. It's really been a strain in terms of the amount of revenue that we can pull off.
Good morning. Good morning.
At the start of 2020, Lynn Ta owned 2 restaurants in Los Angeles. Today, she's working to save her remaining 1.
Oh, it's tough because it's like choosing between your children. Which one are you going to save?
Even after closing 1 restaurant, she has mounting debt and doesn't think the grant will be enough for all her expenses. But it could help bring back some of the nearly 200 people she laid off.
I think we will need more, but the hope is that you bring back more jobs.
Hope is on the horizon for these restaurateurs, something that has eluded them for a year.
Once the relief fund passed, I think that was the first good night's sleep I had since the pandemic started.
Hopeful for the first time in a long time, to be honest with you. You work your whole life for opportunities like this. It's been such a roller coaster of emotions for us.
The Internal Revenue Service is sending more money to some people who were shorted in their original stimulus payments. The so-called plus-up payments are going to people whose 2020 tax returns show they're owed more money. Some discrepancies occurred because initial payments were based on 2018 or 2019 returns. Changes to situations in 2020 that were not known at the time payments were first went out could have resulted in lower payments for some people. One example is if you earned less money in 2020 than in previous years. Also, if you had a child who was not born yet when previous tax returns were filed. A couple married 72 years is now reunited after COVID-19 kept them apart for about a year. Julie McDonald was with them in New Hampshire as they came together once again.
Who is that girl?
Yeah, it's
nice. That beautiful girl.
94-year-old John Doyle is wheeled in to his beautiful girl, his Kay. And the couple, married 72 years, wastes no time, going right in for a careful kiss.
How does it feel to see him?
Wonderful.
I wish I could get closer to him.
It's magic. It really is. I don't know how long it's been.
It had been about a year that COVID kept them apart. Still, they both got sick and survived. Sure, there were socially distant visits, but these long-awaited real ones are never long enough.
I don't have a roommate.
No, you still don't, huh?
You can have that one. You can have that bed.
Okay. I'll check with the authorities.
Still just smitten.
I think he's very kind and considerate, but mostly handsome.
This longtime love story has weathered some storms. The Newburyport natives who raised a family in Worcester had their share of heartbreak, losing parents, siblings, friends, and even children. Their Jackie just went to heaven in December.
They said she was special needs, but I say she was just special.
But in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, they've been right here, together, her hand on his knee.
Just love each other.
The secret is good luck. We were lucky.
In Hampton, New Hampshire, Julie McDonald, WBZ News.
Target is once again offering coupons for people who bring in old car seats to recycle. The event runs through April 17th at all locations. It's also now contact-free. Shoppers can drop off old car seats in a box and get a digital coupon when they scan a code using their mobile devices. The coupon is good for 20% off a variety of baby gear. The store says it will accept damaged or expired car seats. If your car seat is still in good repair, you may consider donating it or giving it to a friend rather than recycling it. Talk about a level up. A classic Super Mario Bros. Nintendo game has sold for $660,000. That's according to Heritage Auctions. The 1985 copy is said to be the finest copy known to have been professionally graded for auction. This particular game was purchased in late 1986 as a Christmas gift. It was placed inside a desk drawer and forgotten about for 35 years. Now whoever forgot about it is rolling in cash. The previous world record for a copy of Super Mario Bros. Was $114,000. That was set in July 2020 by Heritage Auctions. Ancient Egyptian kings and queens emerged from their resting place and headlined a grand parade in their new home. Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
Watch an incredible parade of ancient Egyptian mummies take over the streets of Cairo. The Pharaoh's Golden Parade featured 22 mummified kings and queens, as well as 17 royal sarcophagi. The lavish celebration was to relocate the priceless historic treasures to a new high-tech facility. The relic's new home will be the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization in Al Fustat. The procession moved along the Nile River and through the streets with chariots. The parade was joined by a military band and was heralded by 21-gun salutes. Egypt's President al-Sisi called the breathtaking display evidence of the greatness of the Egyptian people. Speaking of sights to behold, the famed cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. are in peak bloom, and they are early this year. The beautiful blooming trees were a gift to the U.S. from Japan as a symbol of friendship in 1912. This year's bloom season in the nation's capital came about a week sooner than usual, and in Japan, researchers say it's one of the earliest on record. In fact, they say it's been 1,200 years since they've witnessed a bloom like this. There's no substitute for seeing them in person, and the pathways in D.C. are open, but with pandemic safety measures still in place, the National Park Service is encouraging the public to consider experiencing the beauty virtually. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. Staff at a Kentucky hospital celebrating the Easter holiday in a sweet way this year. Not with traditional candy and chocolate, but by dressing up these little ones who were the stars of their Easter baskets. The team at Baptist Health Louisville surrounded the babies with Easter-themed props, and some even donned bunny ears. Of course, the wee ones weren't fazed at all, most napping while the photos were snapped. Later on, the babies got a visit from the Easter Bunny. From our whole team, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great night.